Welcome today to another episode of our tech series. Mohammed is not with me today. I'm here going to answer a few questions that I got from the viewers. Let's go to the first one, which is how do you beat multinationals in the regional or local market? The simple answer is not to compete with them. Multinationals, they usually work on large opportunities. They also have limited budgets, they usually target opportunities which have a high margin with low effort, and these usually mainly are governments as well as tier one companies. Tier one companies, I'm talking about at least companies that have revenues over $100 million per year. So these are the primary areas of focus for multinationals, large system integrators, and management consulting companies like McKinsey, Accenture, uh, Bain and Company, Strategy Ad, and so on. As a startup or as a small business, there's a distinction between the two. I'm going to tackle kind of a general concept at first, then later on, and later episodes, we can go between the specific distinction between small businesses and startups. Since multinationals, they usually don't go for the smaller fish, which is the smaller sized markets, it's wise that our companies or startups begin with these markets first. So target these markets, which we call niche markets. So you target a specific type of audience first. You don't target everyone. For example, like Microsoft Word now, it's for professionals. So it's professionals worldwide, and there's no typical distinction. A wise move to do is to niche down. So niching down, let's say I want to target only doctors, for example, in Saudi Arabia. I want to target lawyers. I want to target professional athletes. I want to try, and so on and so forth, as well as companies. For example, I want to target shops that sell carpets, for example, or I want to target clinics in Dubai. So niche, you have to niche down first. If you don't niche down, then you would not have a unique value proposition, because you'll be everything for everyone, and nobody cares about everything for everyone. They're just noise. So to provide that value, that uniqueness, and to build that expertise, because you need the social proof, you need to niche down to a specific market. If you get the first client, for example, in clinics, then you're going to get the second, then you're going to get the third, and then things the ball starts rolling. So because a clinic A and clinic B, they use their service, so all other clinics in the area are going to use your service. So that's how you start the ball moving. So that's number one. Number two is you need multinationals, large corporations. As I said, they focus more in the tech sector. They focus more on selling the product than giving the service. So services don't scale. Products do. So an advantage for local corporations is providing the service, and that's what we do at Nawat. At Nawat, we already have our own products, and we sell the service around it. People don't buy our product; they buy our service. So we do A to Z enterprise asset management, and so they buy all these services from tagging and consulting. Training, installing the software, installing the hardware. So providing this kind of turnkey service is an advantage. And another question that we had is, should we compete on price? I believe price is the last thing that you should compete on, because being a smaller company, your initial expenses are much higher, and you would need a higher profit margin to cover, or higher margin to cover your expenses. Multinationals or large corporations can afford to lower their prices, and in favor of gaining more market share. you cannot compete head to head on price. Definitely, perception of the customer is that your as a local company, your prices are lower than that of multinationals. That's kind of a perception thing. You can let's say change that perception by changing the offering that you're providing. You're not only providing a product, you're also providing the services around it. That cannot be compared. You need to provide something that can't be compared with multinationals. If multinationals don't have the services that you're providing, then there is no reference point for them, for your customers. So whatever you are, if you are a startup or you're a small business, the number one thing is to focus on connections, is to focus on your community, is to focus on your audience. So number one, you have to build that community audience base that believes in you and your product. If you do that, then you can beat the multinational, because multinational is like a faceless company. You don't see that relationship. You don't have that personal touch. So you have an advantage as a local company to provide that personalization to the customer, to provide that extra touch that's missing from multinationals, because multinationals, they want to do they're very efficient. They want to do the sale, go out. As local company, you come, sometimes you provide add-on services, sometimes you provide other things for free, just to gain the trust of your customer. So the number one step in selling your product is to build the audience. Building the audience involves, number one, that you know who you're targeting. So I have people that are targeting markets that they have never worked in, or they know nothing about. So that's definitely a losing proposition. You need to know who you're targeting. If you want to open, it's famous. You see several entrepreneurs talking about it. If you want to open a cafe, go work in a cafe for some time, so you understand the business, you understand the pain points, you understand the challenges. If not, don't target that market. I see, because many of us, we're engineers and developers. So developers, who do we know? The developer community. If you're talking about businesses, then you need to work in business. You need to work in that industry to understand the market, to understand the pains of the customer. Because the customer, they want you to solve a problem, to solve their problem, whatever that problem or pain point may be. And you need to be there. Sometimes they can ask you, they ask you for things that are not even within your scope, but they trust you. They want your advice. They want your insights on many things. And so with that, you build that trust. That trust is important. There's a famous saying by selling gurus. Everyone knows that if everything is equal, people would buy from their friends. The most interesting thing here is that if everything is not so equal, people would still buy from their friends. So you need to build friendships, you need to build connections, you need to meet people. So you need to go to events in person. You need to build that rapport, that intimacy with your potential clients. Either the most successful people are people who start from their own industry. So they've worked a couple of years in a certain industry, and then they started their own companies, their own businesses with a new idea, because they already know the people. Who are they going to talk to? Who are they going to target? If you're still new and you don't know who your target audience is, it's just a shot in the dark. Now you see, for example, let's say, Ismail, why we see people like 17-year-olds starting their own companies that are very successful. Yeah, but who are they targeting? For example, you see social media influencers who are building products. They understand the market, the teenagers that need their products, the marketers that are selling the products to teenagers. You see, for example, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, he started a company in his 20s. But what was he building? He was building a social network for his friends. He's targeting a sector that an industry that he understands. So, guys, if you have any other questions that you'd like us to answer, please share them in the comments or send us an email. And finally, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel we're trying to do a daily show here in Ramadan, and we're trying out different formats to see what piques your interest. So don't hesitate to share this video with your friends.